more Republicans coming out against Donald Trump, including 50 prominent national security experts. GOP Congressman Peter King, well, he'll join us to weigh in on that and more. And we'll also look at how Republicans ought to embrace their presidential nominee. Is it better to get their arms around him or to denounce him? Then a whole lot of news here in the Empire State. We'll look at why Hillary Clinton could be miffed at Governor Andrew Cuomo and also the latest troubles for Mayor Bill de Blasio. Evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you so much for joining us this Tuesday night. Well, we start this program with the presidential race. Now, the latest ABC News poll shows Hillary Clinton's holding an 8-point lead over Trump. There have been a flurry of other polls lately, and all of them show her up by about that amount, if not even more. But instead of just focusing on catching up to Hillary, Donald Trump is in an unusual position with 90 days to go, where he's dealing with fellow Republicans who are bailing on him. Maine Senator Susan Collins just the latest saying that she can no longer support the Donald. And last week, New York Congressman Richard Hanna, he became the first sitting congressional Republican to say not only will he no longer vote for Donald Trump, he's voting for Hillary. And don't forget about the 50 big-name national security experts, all who served in Republican administrations, who just denounced the Donald. They say that Trump would put the country at risk and be the most reckless president in American history. Among the names included in this, prominent ones like former CIA head Michael Hayden, former Homeland Security Secretaries Tom Ridge and Michael Chertoff, and former top diplomat John Negroponte. Well, here to weigh in on this is Congressman Peter King. He, a New York Republican, he serves on the Homeland Security Committee and is kind enough to give us a few minutes. Thank you, Congressman.
Very welcome.
Well, Congressman, obviously people know how serious Homeland Security is to you. They remember you from 9/11 to present day, dealing with issues. And some of the biggest names, all Republicans, said Trump is not for them. I want to read in part how far they went. They said they signed this letter, all 50, because Trump lacks the character, the values, and experience to be president, and he'd put at risk our country's national security and well-being. He'd be the most reckless president in American history. They go on to say he's demonstrated repeatedly he has little understanding of the nation's vital national interests, its complex diplomatic challenges, its indispensable alliances, and the democratic values on which American policy ought to be based. It laments that Trump has shown no interest in educating himself. Really scathing stuff.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for them, especially Tom Ridge and Mike Chertoff, also Mike Hayden, former head of NSA and CIA, but I respectfully disagree with them. I mean, Donald Trump is not my first choice or second choice, but right now it's the choice between him and Hillary Clinton. Now, I am not one of these anti-Hillary Clinton people, but I cannot support her for president, whether it involves the Supreme Court, whether it involves support for the police, whether it involves just the general liberal policies that she has. I cannot support her. And from my conversations with Donald Trump and from observing how his campaign has gone forward, I think on each of those issues, he will be clearly superior to Hillary Clinton. He's not the perfect candidate, but we don't live in a perfect world. And it's to say that you're not supporting Donald Trump, in effect, means that you're giving your support to Hillary Clinton. Whether you are or not, that's the practical result. And I believe that as a Republican and as someone who feels strongly about some very key issues, which Donald Trump has the same position that I do, that I am supporting Donald Trump.
You know, Congress, for a lot of the folks who signed this deal, they said the tipping point was two things. One, what Trump had to say about asking Putin on an open mic here in front of everybody in a press conference to hopefully hack into Hillary's emails to see what he can find. And then secondarily, the fact that basically he says that if you don't pay enough for protection money, being NATO members, the U.S. will no longer honor its agreement with you. Are you comfortable with those comments?
Yeah, well, as far as the emails, basically, I think what Donald Trump was saying there is Hillary Clinton was saying that there was nothing secret or top secret or confidential, and that no one had hacked in. So I guess what Donald Trump was saying, if you have them, let us have them. That's all. I mean, that's no one has to encourage the Russians to be trying to hack. They're hacking us every day of the week, and they try to. And thank God we're more successful than they are. But having said that, listen, I can go back, whether it's Hillary Clinton with Benghazi, where she clearly did not tell the truth to the families of the people who were killed at Benghazi, when she was saying it was a video when she knew that it wasn't. The fact that she set the reset button with Putin, and the policy with Russia has been a disaster. The whole issue where she continues to say that she told the truth about the emails, and she continues on national television to say that Director Comey supported her position when clearly he didn't. She is by far from being the perfect candidate and far from being the perfect choice. So you put her record up against Donald Trump's, and on balance, I'm for Donald Trump.
As you know, obviously, Congressman, it goes beyond just national security issues. You have other Republicans who are bailing as well on Trump, Susan Collins being the most notable one. The Maine Republican senator said, among other things, the following: "My conclusion about Trump's unsuitability for office is based on his disregard for the precept of treating others with respect, an idea that ought to transcend politics. Instead, he opts to mock the vulnerable and inflame prejudices by attacking ethnic and religious minorities." She went on to give the reasons why she tried to give him chance after chance, and he never met the basic threshold to be president. Susan Collins is not a bomb thrower here, and she probably will not be the last. Does she have a point that he just does not have the temperament to be commander-in-chief?
Now, the fact is, when we're talking about the future of the country, Donald Trump can do far more good for the country than Hillary Clinton. His appointment to the Supreme Court, his support for the police, his willingness to upgrade the military and strengthen the military, those are going to be very positive factors in protecting my children and grandchildren and preserving the country. Donald Trump is far from a perfect person. He's a very different type of candidate. But the fact is, on balance, his attributes are greater than Hillary Clinton's attributes, and his minuses are less than hers.
But due respect, Congressman, Susan Collins talks about there being a choice to that. She didn't say she's voting for Hillary. She said she's not voting for Trump, and she's saying it in part, speaking as a Republican. Some will say, quote, that as a Republican, I have an obligation to support my party's nominee. I thought long and hard about that. For being a Republican is part of what defines me as a person. I reviewed the history of my party, most particularly the value it has placed on the worth and dignity of the individual. And I'll continue to work across the country with Republican candidates. It's because of Trump's inability and unwillingness to honor that legacy that I'm unable to support his candidacy. She's not saying that somebody has to go as far as Hannah, the congressman from New York, who's now going to vote for Hillary even though he's a Republican. She's saying that she doesn't have to support Hillary, but she can in good conscience support Trump. Do you have a line where you say, I just can't go there with this guy after all the things he's said and done, let alone entrust him with the launch codes?
Well, I'm sure there's people considering that. On the other hand, they also know that Donald Trump has extraordinarily strong support, very intense support, which other candidates have not had. So they have to factor that in also. And also we're seeing that Donald Trump is appealing to Democrats. And I know on Long Island, I was talking to one of the Republican leaders here in Long Island who was talking about the number of people who are switching their registration from Democrat to Republican. We've had a far greater increase in Republican registration than Democratic registration here in Long Island. Now, that's what I've been told by one of the top county leaders. And certainly the energy is toward the Republicans and toward Trump. So, again, when you run a candidate who is iconoclastic as Donald Trump is, this is really not to be unexpected. So it's, again, it's not an easy ride. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride. As I said, Donald Trump was not my first or second choice. But right now, when the choice is between him and Hillary Clinton, I'm siding with Donald Trump.
Congressman, thank you so much.
Very welcome. Thank you.
A lot to unpack there, everybody. When we come back, we'll bring in our political panel to weigh in on how Republicans ought to deal with the Donald and a lot more. Stay with us.